Let's talk about ternary operations. This is a simplified if-else statement. So it's a bit more compact, and the purpose of it is to make our code a bit more readable, a bit more clean. We're going to see that in code. So the full syntax is what you see inside my screen. The orange part is what divides each part of my code. And based on that condition, we're either going to output the value 1 or the value 2. The scenarios where this is helpful is when we're trying to either initialize a value based on something, or we're trying to output something out. So this makes our code much cleaner, and it's great to know. So let's try this out. So given this value 2, we want to initialize a string variable that would specify if this is even or odd. So let's name it even or odd. Now, normally, to initialize this variable, you would create the variable, and you would say if the value modulus 2 is equal to 0, well then we know it's even, right? Even or odd equals even. Let's put it in all lowercase. And otherwise, well then it would be odd, right? Pretty straightforward. So let's try this out. So if we print this out and we say even or odd, we're going to see that this time it's going to say even. Always test out our code. And if I change it to a 3, run it again, it's going to say odd. If I change it to 33, it should also say odd. Try it out a couple times. And let's say if we say 40, or let's make it a bit more fun, 44, it would say even. So we know our code works here. Now, however, this is a lot to do something that's really simple. And sometimes this could become a bit hard to read because it's on multiple lines, just so that we could initialize our variable here. So what we could do is use the ternary operation on this variable created here, right? To be able to do this, we're going to copy this form that we have. So the first part of it is to put our condition. Our condition is this one, right? So we're going to copy this. We're going to put it right here. Now that we have our condition, we need the question mark. The question says this right before it is our condition. The condition to determine if it's true or false. So if it's true, we want to write even. So it's going to take on this value. So this whole code will get replaced by this value even. Otherwise, so colon here, otherwise the else. The else is not required, but you could have it. So in this case, we do need it, so we're going to put odd, right? So in this case, based on this condition, it's either going to have even or odd as the value of this variable. So that means here, we don't need this thing, right? So let's try this out. 44 should still give us even. Let's try some weird numbers. 189, that should give us odd. And we could see it's working out perfectly, right? So this is a bit hard to read for beginners, but you need to kind of get used to it because it makes our code a bit cleaner. If you like, I would suggest that you surround your condition between a parentheses, so it makes it a bit clearer for yourself that this is part of the conditional statement, part of the condition to determine what the value should be. Another thing we could also do is rather than just having it inside initializing a value, it could also determine what to print inside our screen. So in this case, based off the age, we'll determine if we're giving them beer or if we're giving them juice. Mind you, because of the string concatenation, we had to put everything inside parentheses. So let's try this out. So based on their age, here's your beer, or if they're underage, here is your juice. So even though this is an if-else statement, you could make it into an else-if statement, such as You keep going with conditions inside that condition. So this is basically a hack. I would consider you not to do it because it makes the code unreadable. It's basically having a ternary operation inside another ternary operation. How would that look like? Well, let's try out something random, right? So let's say, let's create a variable again. Let's say based on, let's say that value that we had up there. Based on that value, I'm going to have some sort of output. I don't know what that output is. We're going to say if that value is, let's say, less than, oops, I can't type. If that value is less than 10, do something. We have the true and false. But inside of that, we could say if that value is less than 10, is that value bigger than 5? If it is, do something else. And if it is, let's say, bigger than 5. If it's not, well then it's less than 5. Right? And then we also have, remember that this is the inner part. Don't forget we also have the outer question. Otherwise, it's bigger than 10. Right? And then we could do system output. And to be honest, we could keep on going like this as many times as we want to continue this else if indefinitely. Is this a good thing to do? No. Let's try some couple different values. Notice how hard it is to read. And some people are going to tell you, well, you know what? You could put it in parentheses. You could put it on multiple lines. Well, if you're going to make it so complicated, it's time to go back to the if else, which is more readable for everyone inside your team. You got to remember that we're not considering you as the programmer of the whole application. We're not considering that everyone in your team is elite. We're considering that everyone in your team could be at varying levels and varying education. So some people got used to this because they did it all their lives. Some people didn't. So normally your company, your team will tell you what's the norm there, but this is just ugly code in my case, in my opinion. All right. See you guys in the next video.